Welcome to Red-tastic. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my father after he refused to help me years ago? My father was never present in my life even after various attempts I made to have a real relationship with him. The little time I spent with him as a child, he was very abusive. It took me longer than most to lose my baby fat, and he would always make snarky comments about it. He would also compare me to every other child he knew, and I would always not be as good as them. When I was 10, my mother was diagnosed with schizophrenia and depression. Things got really tough. We had to move in with my grandma, who became responsible for the both of us. Money was always tight. Mental illness treatment is very expensive in my country. My grandma tried to contact my father to ask for help with me because it was really tough for me to see my mother in the state she was in. He always said he couldn't take me in or help with extra money because he had a new family that needed his attention. After a while, he moved to the other side of the country and didn't talk to me for years. Eventually things got better. The meds started to work, and now you couldn't even tell my mother has any kind of mental illness. However, money was still short for us, especially after my mom got pregnant again, even after the doctor said that was impossible. Abortion is not an option in my country. After I finished high school, I had no hopes of ever going to college because we couldn't afford it. But my mom still made me take my country's equivalent of the SATs. Somehow I got a 50% scholarship for one of the best schools in the country. The problem was, even with the scholarship, we still couldn't afford it, and I couldn't work to pay for it because the school was in the next town, and I would spend literally every time off in traffic. We also don't have college dorms here. At this point, my dad was back in town, so I decided to give it a try and contacted him to see if he could help. He wasn't rich, but he had money and was always doing stuff with his family, so I figured he would have at least a little to help me. But all he said was, "Can't help you, you know that, just find a job." And after that, he never tried to contact me again. Right after that, my mom received a very high restitution from the state and literally gave it all to me. I went to college, graduated, got an amazing job, and now I'm paying for my sister's college. Last month, my mom made a Facebook post saying how much she was grateful to have me as a daughter because I was helping with my sister's education. And then out of the blue, my dad decided to contact me and ask for me to help with his other daughter's college too. I said I couldn't because I was already paying for my sister's, and I was saving to buy an apartment. I also said that maybe she should get a job. I felt really great. But then he started to say I was being a vindictive a-hole. He made a Facebook post about it, and now a lot of people are agreeing with him to the point where I'm reconsidering it. I'm helping pay for my mom's other daughter's college. We are not very close because of the huge age gap, but I still love her and want her to have a better future. I don't really know his other family. To be honest, I'm having a lot of mixed feelings. I feel bad for his kids because they seem to be having a lot of money problems right now. And from the messages I'm getting, it seems like he's not in a good financial spot anymore. He also has another child, so I'm guessing he's trying to get help wherever he can. To be honest, I'm feeling bad about his kids mostly. I know how hard that is. At the same time, I just want to tell them all to F off. Update. Wow, this really blew up. I decided to make this edit because it would take me forever to respond to every individual message. First, I want to thank for how nice it all was. Also, really thank you to whoever sent the words. You didn't need it. This is just a throwaway account. Second, I decided I won't be making a Facebook post to respond to him. All of you said I should post my side of the apology, but I don't think people will care. The ones that are on his side know he was never present and know my mom was sick. They just think I should help because we're family and nothing will really change their minds. Thirdly, I decided to help his kids. I know I have no obligation to them. I know that maybe he's lying about his money problems, But it's just hard for me to see a person I'm technically related to in a situation I struggled so much with. But I won't be giving them money per se. A very good friend of mine works teaching for a college in my city. It's far from the best school, but they offer a lot of scholarships and they are cheaper than most. He said he could get up to 25%. As I said, it's really not the best school. It's still better than nothing if you're in need. They could try getting a loan for the other 75% or something. You're not the a-hole, OP. Your father is, and he doesn't deserve you. The fact that he chose to help his kids anyway, because you understand what it's like to be in their shoes, proves just how good-hearted you are. Even if you had decided to do nothing, you still wouldn't have been the a-hole. Your father had countless chances to step up and be a dad, but he turned every single one of them down. If it were not for your mom, you wouldn't even be here right now, and he wouldn't have the audacity to ask for your help. Your father sucks, and I suggest you cut him out of your life. Now for some comments. Good on you for passing down the blessing your mom gave you to your sister. She must be very proud of both of you. The minute your father told your grandmother that he couldn't help because he had a new family, absolves you of any guilt you should ever feel about anything past, present, or future. Don't worry what other people think on Facebook. No decent father would go on Facebook and basically call his daughter a vindictive a-hole. In my opinion, that man hasn't changed from the day he denied responsibility for you until now. Not the a-hole. Do not reconsider it. He is the father. He should be the one responsible for his kids' education. He did a shitty job being a father to you, and now he wants to pass on some of his responsibilities. You are only family when he needs money. And he still doesn't give an F about your future. Does he post on Facebook how he was a crap father to you, and now, because he doesn't want to cut stuff from his routine and save for his younger kids, he is asking the kid he abandoned for financial help? I am so angry for you right now. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother he's an a-hole and a loser for driving a brand new BMW, while his ex-girlfriend and mother of his child suffers? My brother is 35, and due to an extremely shady lifestyle, this is a conjecture from what he says sometimes. I admit I have no proof. He is able to afford a brand new car every few years as well as a home with a pool, garage, etc. I know I sound like I'm jealous, but I want to stress that it's not his material items I disapprove of. It's his lack of care and interest to anybody around him. He pays my mom a lot of money, so she's in his pocket. And he parades around his 8-year-old as though he's a toy or pet, not as though he's a living, breathing child. I'm one of the ones he's always been critical of, and vice versa, because of his disrespect towards women and other qualities make me think he's, well, a loser. I know he pays child support, and I know my nephew's room at both my mom's house and my brother's house are full of toys and clothes, etc. And my brother sends my nephew to a private school, but he allows his ex-girlfriend, who is truly a humble, hard-working person. She's struggling with bills, etc., but always has a smile on her face, to struggle and go without. This obviously impacts my nephew, and he's told me in the past he wishes mommy was as happy as daddy. I saw my brother recently and said to him, "Why don't you pay some money towards your ex-girlfriend for groceries so your son can eat well when he lives with his moms? Why don't you help her with school because she is currently studying all night on an online course?" He told me to stay out of his business and said that his responsibility is to his son, not to his ex-girlfriend. I said, feeding your son when he's at his mom's isn't your responsibility. And then in front of my mom he said, "That's what child support is for, you dumb F." I retaliated and said he was both a loser and an a-hole for driving around in his car when he knows he's letting his ex-girlfriend suffer that way. My mom told me to get out of the house because I was being rude and not dropping the subject. I can't believe I'm considered the a-hole over this. User ColdEmber32 made a good point to point out my brother doesn't pay the amount of child support he's meant to. So thank you for the heads up that not everyone might see that comment. It's something he's very proud of, However, he does give cash directly to my nephew when he sees him. From your story, you're the a-hole OP. Your brother isn't obligated to fend for or take care of his ex, as long as he pays child support and handles his child's finances, which it seems like he's doing. Then he's doing his part. You come across as someone who really dislikes his brother to the core. Maybe you had some valid points about him being an a-hole, but those got completely lost. Instead, your story reads like it's more about a man who's jealous of his brother and possibly in love with his brother's ex-girlfriend. Now for some comments. You're the a-hole. He has no need to look after his ex-girlfriend at all. None. He owes her literally nothing. His success is not his girlfriend's success. He owes his kid support. He pays for his kid's school and there is no evidence. He doesn't pay whatever child support is due, if not more. Aside from being dead wrong, this is also just none of your goddamn business. That's why you're getting turfed out of the house. Mild, you're the a-hole. Other posters are right that this is not really your business and he has no responsibility to his ex. Just the child. Sometimes when we don't like someone, especially a family member, we try to over-justify our dislike by deciding that everything they do is wrong or annoying. It sounds like you have plenty of reasons to dislike your brother without adding this relative non-issue to the pile. You don't have to like your brother just because he's family in case you needed to hear someone say that. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for hiring the less beautiful women? Bear with me because English isn't my native language. So a year or two ago, I was told to interview for the junior position in our company. I interviewed several candidates, gave them tasks, etc. And in the end, 2 women seemed to have very similar capacities to get the job done. And it was a coin toss between the 2. One of the women was extremely beautiful. As George Costanza put it, I would give up red meat just to see her in a bra. Normally, I was the first point of interview and I would just say yes or no after both their interview and take-home task. They weren't the only 2 candidates I told yes to, but to me they were the best 2. I think I referred 4 or 5 candidates for the final interview to my boss. I guess my boss thought the same thing and he asked if I would prefer either of the 2 candidates after interviewing all the candidates. I was occasionally going to work with the new employee, so when he asked, I told him the one I wasn't so infatuated with, and he hired her. So after a while, she and I kinda became friends. After the lockdown ended, we went out to drink after work one day, and the subject came to her hiring and that it took a long time to get the final answer, etc. I told her that there were really other good candidates and that's why it was a long process. She then asked me if there were others who rejected the offer or was she the first one to get the offer. I told her it came down to 2 people, but she was the first one to get the offer. She asked what made the difference between them, and I told her I was not sure since I wasn't the final point of decision, but I chose her when asked. She then asked why I chose her. I told her the other candidate was extremely beautiful, and if I had the chance to work with equally competent people, I would rather not drool after her. I told the story a bit stiff, but the conversation wasn't stiff at all. It was just business as usual. Since then, she's acting very distant to me and not conversing beyond small talk. Am I the a-hole for telling my preference to my boss or to her? I put hiring in quotes because in the end, I wasn't the one who hired her. Now for some comments. Ugh, another good example of how women just can't win in the workforce. You were awful to both these women. You discriminated against one because you thought you couldn't control yourself. And you insulted the other by telling her she was so unattractive you could work with her and not risk being attracted to her. You should control yourself and hire people based on who is the best employee, not who you would or wouldn't think about sexually. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole, an objectifying a-hole. It's not cute to quote George Costanza, he is not a role model. The fact that you don't understand the cringe in that quote is part of the problem. But really, the reason is that you not only hired someone basically based on their appearance, but also humiliated her. by telling her that she was hired because she was less pretty and would be less of a distraction for you. Women should never be or feel responsible for your attraction or gaze.